Hey everyone, welcome back to our Microsoft series. In the last video, we covered the basics of databases and how to create tables. Today, in tutorial 2, we're diving deeper into SQL queries, how to insert, select, update, alter, and delete data right inside Access. So, if you're new here, make sure you check out the tutorial, which is tutorial 1. Then let's jump in this video. So we'll start with the insert syntax, right? So this command lets you add new records to tables, okay? It lets you add new records to a table. So let's look at the basic syntax on how you can use insert. So now let me just open up our database which we created earlier, okay? So last time, this is the database which we actually created, right? So now we'll continue with from where we ended. Okay, so now I want to show you the syntax on how we can use into. I remember showing you how we can use into. So today we're diving deeper to see uh, how into can be implemented in other ways, right? So we go on create, then design query. Okay, so we open in SQL view, right? So remember that the syntax for inserting records, right? I said that we need to insert into. Okay, so this is the syntax. So after we type in insert into, we need to specify the table name, right? After now specifying the table name, we can now specify the column, right? So we can specify the column. So in this case, let me just say column, right? So we can specify our columns. So if you want, you can say column 1, column 2, right? And after doing that, we can now even specify the values, right? So the values. So this is the other way in which you can basically use insert into. Okay, there are a lot of syntax in which you can use insert into. Okay, so this is how you can use insert into in Access. But again, in Access, you can also skip a column name if you're inserting into all the columns, right? So if you're inserting into all the columns, there's no need of you specifying the columns. Okay, but if you are inserting in some columns, you can specify. Okay, so what am I talking about? So now let me show you how, you know, I will open the students table and how I will create um, a new record like we did last time. Okay, running an insert query so that we can add a new student, right? So let's try to see if we can add a new student. Okay, so remember the syntax which we used. So we said insert. Okay, so insert into students, right? Insert into students. Then after you're done saying insert into students, what you can do is that you can specify the column names. Okay, what do I mean by that? Okay, so let me go back to the table. All right, so I've used this table. You can specify all these columns: the scene, the first name, last name, gender, and program. Okay, so this is the other way you can use insert into when adding columns, right? So let me say you just want to add the scene number, the first name, and the last name only. How can you go about it? So we can just say insert into students, right? Then we open and close the brackets so we can type in our scene. Okay, so no need of quotes. So we type in scene, comma, first name, comma, then last name. Right. So now when we're done doing this, we can now say values. Okay. Okay. So the values in this case, we're talking about the records, right? So in scene, what do you want to add? So want to add to a student number, right? A student identity number. So in this case, we can just say 2022, right? Then maybe 4719. Okay. So after we're done, remember we put a comma. Then the name, it will be in quotes because it is a string. Okay. It is in string, so the name will be in quotes. So let's say Devanshi, right? Comma. Then the last name we can now say Walia, right? Okay. So this record right here, or this value will be in this column. This value will be in this column. This value will be in this column. So this is how it works. So semicolon at the end. Then what I can do, I can just close. Okay, so we need to close the table before running our query command. Then we do what we do. So we close this as well. Then we run. Okay, so I just click yes. Okay, so have you seen I've only selected 3 columns or fields, or fields. So I have seen first name and last name. So 3 fields. So when I open up, you can see that I've specified, I've only entered the values in the 3 fields, right? In the 3 fields. So this is how you can specify the fields and the values, so to say. Okay, so this is how we go about it. So this is one way you can go about it when you are entering the student details. Okay, great. So now let me just finish entering all the records. So let me just delete this record. Okay, okay. Now let me finish the record. So since I'm entering all the values in these records, okay, this record will be filled up with the values. So there's no need of me specifying all this. Okay, if I want, what I can do is that last name, comma, I can even say gender, comma, I can say program. Okay, just like the way it is here, gender and program. Okay, then even here, what I can say is that after typing in my surname, I can even type in the gender, which is male, comma, then the program. Okay, so program, let me just say maybe animal science. Right, so this works, yeah, but since I've entered all the values in these records, there's no need of me specifying all this. Okay, this is just a kind of waste of the time unless if I'm specifying. Okay, so this can work, but in order for you to make your work easy, there's no need of you typing in all these columns. Okay, there's no need of you typing in all these columns. This is correct, but there's no need of you typing all these columns unless if you're specifying like what I showed you earlier. Okay, unless if you're specifying, you're just saying, okay, I just want to use this and that. Okay, but if you are entering all the values in these tables, then there's no need of you specifying. Okay, so let me just delete this. Okay, so I just say insert into students, these are the values, then After that, let me now run the query. Okay, so I want the button to reflect here, then I run the query. Okay, yes. So this means that I've successfully added the values. So the table is open, so it hasn't reflected. So for it to reflect, I need to close the table and open again. You can now see to say that it has now reflected. The records or the values have now reflected. Okay, so this is how we go about it when we actually want to add records. Okay, so that's the syntax I wanted to show you. Okay, so now we move on. Okay, so there is what we call inserting multiple values, right? There is what we call insert into multiple records. Now, what you need to know is that here's a catch. Microsoft Access does not support multi-row insert with commas like other SQL database. This is unfortunately, okay? So that means that you have to write one insert statement per record, okay? You just need to write one insert statement per record. Let me demonstrate something here, okay? Let me demonstrate something. So when I go on query, let me say, I want to add another record, right? Okay, so in this case, let me just delete all this, or let me just rename some stuff here. So in this case, the student number, let me just say 20, 23, right, 2023, then 04, right, something like 04 or 0145, anything, then here the name. Okay, so let's say Rosaria. Okay, so period. Right, then gender to be female. Maybe Rosaria is doing, let's say, cyber security. Okay, let's say cyber security. And again, you want to, let me just copy. So again, here you want to add another value. Okay, so in this case, let's say this person is doing data science, and this person, maybe it's a female as well. Okay, so the surname, maybe it can be Mono, right? Okay, so these are just examples, right? Here are just examples. Maybe 1552, something like that. Okay, so let me put a comma here. Here we end with a full colon, a semicolon, so to say, right? So there's no need of me adding values here. Okay, so this command won't work. Okay, this command won't work. Why? The reason being, Microsoft Access does not support multi-row insert with columns. Okay, it does not support multi-row insert. Let me try to run this. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so let me just say close here. Let me run. Okay, missing semicolon whatsoever. Even if I put semicolon here, still, okay, it will be saying the same thing. Okay, so Microsoft Access does not support multi-row insert. So this means that you need to be inserting all these records one by one. So this record here must have its own insert syntax. Okay, so even this record here, so this record must have what? This record must have values, right? So we'll say values for this record. Okay, must have values. Then also insert. Okay, so insert into students, right? Then these are the values. Okay, so this is how it works. Okay, so each statement, each record must have its own statement. Okay, so I need to first of all cut this. Okay, I need to remove that so that this one can actually run, right? Okay, so yes, so I can now delete. I can also paste this. Okay, okay, yes, okay. So this how you can go about it when it comes when it comes to inserting records in a database. Okay, so we can even add the last person here. Let's just add the last person. So this one maybe doing cyber. So this one maybe is doing cyber. Then in this case, this time around, the male student, right? Maybe the name can be Mwape. Okay, then George, right? Then the student number maybe 20, yeah, anything 2022, maybe 6600, right? And you say it, yes, okay. When you're satisfied, you can just close so that it reflects. Okay, so open up again. So this is what we're talking about. Okay, so we have successfully inserted these records in our table. Okay, so now we move on. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so we talked about insert into multiple values. Okay, so now we move to select. Okay, so now let's try to retrieve data with select. So if we want to see only female students, let's see what command we can use, right? So let's see what command we can use. Let's say we only want to see female students here. You only want to see female students. So let's see how we can use select to filter that. Right. So let me just close the table and make sure that the run button is activated by doing this. Okay, it's now activated. So we can just use this syntax. So this is a SQL command. This is the reason why I'm even using capital letters. Okay, so select, which is an SQL command. So select. So we can select everything. So this asterisk means everything. So we're selecting all the records. Sorry. We're selecting all the fields or all the columns. Okay. So here we're selecting all the columns. All the columns. Okay. We're selecting all the columns. So that's the meaning of that asterisk. Some of you can call it a star. So select everything. From where? So this is an SQL command as well. From. Select everything from the table. So what's the name of the table? So I'm selecting everything from the table. So the name of the table is called students, right? So this is the students. So now we have SQL query command, again a keyword. This one is a keyword as well, where. Okay, so we're specifying now. Okay, so this is a where condition. Okay, so if this condition is true, then if the condition is true, it will display what we've requested for. So this is a condition. Okay, so where gender. Okay, so where gender. So remember, gender is just a column, or it is a field in our table. Okay, it is just a field. So where gender equals female. Right. Okay. So we're selecting everything, okay, from students where gender equals female. Okay. So now we can make sure that, okay, we don't have any errors with our command. Now let me run this in SQL. Okay, so run. Okay, perfect. So you can see that that command has only selected females from the table. Only females have been selected. Okay, so if you want, you can also specify the columns. Okay, if you want, you can also specify the columns. What do I mean by that? So instead of you saying everything, okay, so let's go back to our SQ view. So instead of you saying everything here, you can specify the columns. So you can say you want to select maybe scene, right? Maybe the scene. And also you want to select, let's say, the first name. Okay, you only want the first name, the scene from students, right? Then you can say where maybe program, in this case, maybe you want the program, where program. So we're selecting this we have selected these two fields. So select scene, comma, first name from students, where program. Okay, so a program is a column, right? So where program equals, we can say in this case, let's say cyber security. So we only want students who are doing cyber security. We only want the scene and the first name of students who are only doing cyber security only. Okay, so we can run this command and you can see that we only have two students. We only have two students who are doing cyber. Okay, so these are the students who are only doing cyber in that program, right? In that table, so to say. So this is how we can go about it. This is how simple it becomes. If you want, you can just, you can just play around with this, maybe just want to say, you want to select the gender. Okay, maybe just selecting the gender, you can just say select gender. Okay, so remember, we're selecting the columns or the fields in other ways. So select gender. So gender is a column, right? So select gender, maybe from students. Select gender from students. So select gender from students, full colon, you can set. So you have selected on this column. Okay, so these are the values or records you have in this field, right? So this is how you can just play around with select. Okay, so this is how select works. So now moving on, let's now look at outer. So now, what if we forget a column, right? No worries. What if we forget a column? We have forgotten a column, and you can use outer. Okay, you can use outer to add that particular column. Okay, so now let's go back to to our table. Let's go back to our table. So if I open up this table, you can see that, okay, let's say we want to add another column or field. We want to add another column or field. Okay, let's say, for example, we say we want to add age as a column here. Okay, we have been told that, no, on that table or that particular database, you can also add age. What do we do? So just close the table. Then we can just type in the keywords for outer. So outer, right? Outer what? The table. So outer table. So what's the name of the table? So the name of the table is students, right? So outer table, and then you can add. What do you want to add? You want to add age. So this is what you're adding, and you can even specify the the data type, right? You can even specify the data type. So for age, since we know that age it's a number, so we can just go with int, right? We can just go with int. So this is how you can add a column or a field, so to say. So we need to make sure that the table is closed, and you know that I've already closed my table. Okay, so I can just go and create query. I close this for the sake of this button to come. Okay, so I run this command. Once I open, you can see that I've successfully added this age column. Okay, so this is how we do it when we want to add a column or a field in the table. Okay, so this is how simple it gets. So now let's let's move on. Let's move on. We see what other command we can use apart from outer. Right. So let's see other command we can use apart from outer. So we have update, right? Of update. So now how can we basically use update? How can we use update? So we can basically use update in different ways, right? So if we want to set some ages for our students, so let's say here, all these boxes here in these records, we want to add age instead of us doing it manually. How do we do it? Okay, how do we do it? So we know that we can add records using insert, right? We can add records using insert. Now I think insert won't work here, because when you type in insert, so let's do this. So insert into, so insert into students. So insert into students, right? So now insert into students. So now what do you want to insert, right? What do we want to insert? So in this case, remember that we want to insert the age, right? We want to insert the age. So in this case, we'll type in our values, right? Well, we can say values. Now remember that when you come back to this table, age is located here. Okay, so now how will we manage to insert? Okay, how will we manage to insert? So maybe what we can do, we can say insert into students values. Maybe we can now specify. Okay, we can specify. So insert into students, then we can specify, let's say age. Okay, let's say age. Then after that, we can say values. So values, right? And then we can say maybe 20. But this again won't work. I doubt if it will work. Why? Because here we have age quite right, but we need to specify in whose who is 20 years old, who is 20 years old. Is it this person, is this person or that person? Okay, so let me just try to run this command. Okay, let me just try to run this command, and I doubt if it will work. So okay, this command will work, but let's see. Okay, so let me just close the table and open it again. Okay, so it has gone to the next row. Okay, so that's the reason why we have introduced update. Okay, we know that we can insert values, but that's the reason why we have introduced update, to make our lives easier, so that we can be specifying. Okay, so in this case, let's say we want to add some ages. Let's say James is 20 let's say 27 years old. Okay, so James is 27 years old. So what can we do? So we just close here. Okay, then what we do, we just say update. Okay, so update. Okay, so update students, right? Update students. Update students. So now here we need to set the age, right? So our age, we said is 27, right? This nigga is 27. Then you can specify now where. So we can use the where condition. So you can get any. I've decided to go with the first name. Okay, where first name equals I can say James, right? Then I can close. Okay, so this means that this 27 years old will go direct into the column for James. Okay, into the row or column for James, right? So let's run this. Okay, so let's just run this. So if I run it, okay, yes, then I open the table, you can see that we have successfully added the age. So we can do the same to the rest of all this. We can do the same to Devanshi, Rosaria, Faith, and George. Right. So let me just close the table. Then again, I make it executable. Okay. So now here we can just replace. So the first name in this case, let's also update the name for the age for Devanshi. Maybe let's say this nigga is 22, right? This nigga is 22. Okay, so set age, who first name equals Devanshi, update, yes. Then again for Rosaria, okay. So maybe the age, let's just say 20, 20, so update again, okay. Again, so Faith, so we can just say maybe the age can be maybe 25, so to say. Update, yes. Also for George, maybe George, let's say George is 30, right? So we just say 30. George is 30. Update, yes, great. So I open, okay. So this is what we have done, guys. Okay, so this is how you can use update. This is how you can use to update record. Okay, So now um, moving on, let's now go back to outer. Okay, so now let's use outer. So outer continues, guys. So sometimes you need to change a column's data type or remove a column entirely, right? You can want to remove a column, okay, or you can, want to update the data type. So you'll be happy to know that you can use outer again. You can use outer to update your data type or delete the column, so to say. How can you do that? So let me just close this, right? Okay. So now let's say I want to, maybe drop the what we created earlier. So let me just say I want to drop the column edge. So I'll just say outer, right? I'll just say outer. So or outer in the table here. So outer the table called students. Then now we say job. So what are we dropping? So we're saying job column. So job column, right? Then age. Okay. So once we're done with this, you can now just go and create design query here, then run this command, right? So once I run this command, guys, I will now delete or drop, so to say. Run this command, I go back, the age column is gone. I've deleted the column. Okay, so this is how this is how dangerous some commands are. Outer, you can drop the column you want. Okay, so I go back to this query. So now let's say that in this case, let's say that you want to change the data type. Since I said that you can even change the data type, so here we say same command, outer table students, then we also say outer, then now we can say column, right? We can say outer column, then which column, so let me just select scene, outer column scene, then you can say int. Okay, we can say int. So if I want, guys, I can even make it a primary key. If I want, I can just say primary key, then I can say primary key. So what I can say, if I want to make it a primary key, outer column, then I can say primary key, then I can say scene. Okay, so this means that I want to make it a primary key. Okay, so now since I'm talking about changing the data type, we say outer column scene, then int. So if it was an int already, we can just say varchar. Okay, we can say varchar. So we can just say any. Okay, so int. So this is how you can modify a data type. If you know that no, I made a mistake, the data type for first name was an int, so you can change it. You can change it. You can just say, you can just write first name. And first name, you can change it to what? Varchar. You can change it to varchar, and then you can specify the character. You can update the characters. Okay, then you just go on query here, close. So I can't run this command. Why? Because the table is open. You see why. Okay, so the database engine students, because it is what in use. It is already in use. Okay, so I need to close this table. I need to close it. So again, that's when I can run that command. So I can run this command. Okay, great. And the first name column is now updated. Okay, so this is what you can use if you want to modify, if you want to delete, if you want to modify or drop the column. You can basically use outer command. Okay, so you can use outer command. Now let's look at our last command, guys. Let's look at our last command. Finally, this is delete. So let's say George Mwape is no longer in the class. Okay, maybe George Mwape, you know, has carried 3 courses or is a ring reader, so is no longer in the class, right? So now we want to remove his records. We want to remove the records for George Mwape because George Mwape right here has been suspended or expelled because of maybe being a ring reader, or he has just carried 3 courses and he cannot afford to pay, so he won't be coming back to school. So we want to remove this record for George Mwape. So now we need to be careful that delete removes the entire row permanently. Okay, so the delete always remove the entire row permanently, so we need to be careful when doing these things. So let's just close the table. Let's just delete this or delete. Yeah, okay, now let's delete George Mwape. So you can just say delete from students, delete from table called students. So we first name, so we're specifying. Okay, we're specifying where first name, we can say equals George, or first name equals George, and we can say last name, all right, equals Mwape. So it is a string of character, so Mwape. Right. Okay. So this is what we want to do. Okay. We want to remove this record. Okay. So we are removing George Mwape because he's no longer part of the class. So now, if you want, there's no need of us saying and the last thing equals Mwape. No need. If you want, you can just end where it is saying first name equals George. That's all. Then we can even just put a semicolon. Then let's run our command. We can run the command. So, okay, so delete. So when we open up the table, and voila, George Mwape is nowhere to be seen. Okay, so guys, this marks the end of this tutorial. Okay, thanks again for watching. Okay, so from this tutorial too, we've covered the insight into, select, alter, update, and delete, which is for removing data. Okay, update, we said that it is for editing records. Okay, so these are the core SQL commands you use regularly when you're dealing with databases. Okay, so if you found this video helpful, you can please, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so that you don't miss the next tutorial. Okay, so drop any questions in the comment section and I'll answer them for you. Thank you.